took me a long time because I didn't have a father who was really there for me. My brother ignored me, and I felt invisible to men. And so I had to work very, very hard, honey, to be able to, you're out there. And I believed so strongly that there were men like you out there. And I believed in my ability to find someone like you. And so this topic is so disheartening to me because I've since come to really love men. I see, we have so many great men in our lives, good male, really good male friends. And don't lose hope, because losing hope leads to giving up. It means to lose, when you lose faith, you give up. And so afraid of us. So what if we have strength? So what if we're strong? Like, you're afraid of women? Give me a break.
Yeah.
Hello, everybody. I'm Lisa Shield.
And I'm Benjamin Shield.
And this is Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. Today we're going to explore a topic that I think is really relevant. And I feel like it's a hard thing to talk about, especially for me on a very, very personal level, because I worked so hard to love and respect men. It took me a long time because I didn't have a father who was really there for me. My brother ignored me, and I felt invisible to men. And so I had to work very, very hard, honey, to be able to open my heart to men and see the good men who are out there when it wasn't something that I grew up with. And so this topic is so disheartening to me because I've since come to really love men. I see, we have so many great men in our lives, good male, really good male friends. We see the husbands of so many of the women who are in our course and who have met really terrific guys. I've talked to a lot of them. I've interviewed a lot of my successful couples. So today, the topic that we're going to talk about is, are there men who still believe in protecting women's rights? And, so many women, we fought so hard to get to where we are right now. Even in my own mother's generation, she got married at 19, had her first child at 21. I mean, your mom didn't marry, or she had you at 34, I think?
Mm-hmm. 35.
35? My mom, it was even worse for my mom's generation. They were 10 years apart. My mother, her generation actually got married younger than your mother's.
Oh, yeah.
Much younger. So we have fought so hard for these rights, and I'm not on a pedestal grandstanding here. It's not about that at all. But they are very precious, and it's incredible how a woman like me growing up, I took this so for granted. I in my childhood, abortion was legalized, the pill was legalized, and then not just legalized for married women, but for single women. And we fought for all these things, even just to have a credit card in our own name.
When my mom was born, women didn't have the right to vote.
Yeah. Wow.
Could you imagine?
No. I could not imagine what that would be like. But, and I read some of what's going on, and I hate to say that it feels so remote to me. It just feels impossible that some of these things are happening. So, if you're dating, I'm speaking to the women listening in, but if you're dating and you're paying attention to what's really going on right now regarding women's rights, you have every reason to be worried about finding a really good man. Yeah. And I feel for all women who are dating and looking for a partner, especially if you're a liberal woman, especially if you're liberal and you believe in equal rights and you believe in the right to choose. Those rights are being taken away. The Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, which I never thought was something I would see. And just this week, and this, when I told you this morning, I could see the look on your face that the government just cut funding for female-dominated fields like nursing and physical therapy while protecting male-dominated fields like law and medicine. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, it's atrocious. It's establishing a class system, that
not just rich and poor, but women and men.
Yeah, women and men. Yeah, definitely.
Reestablishing a class system.
Yeah.
And one that hasn't been, it's been years since we've had some semblance of equal rights. It's only been a very short period of time in the history of humanity, of mankind, that men and women have had anything close to equal rights. And that's slipping away.
Yeah, I mean, women got their vote in the 1920s, but still, even after all these decades, they don't have equal pay. They have double duty of having to be a wage earner in a marriage or in a relationship, but also manage the housework and the kids. So it's multiple jobs laid on them, not just at the workplace.
Yeah, but so just to bring it back, there was Roe v. Wade that was overturned. I mean, can you imagine the whole argument with metapristone and wanting to end our right to get the abortion pill? Things like, people like Andrew Tate, who literally teach that women are property and has 8.5 million followers. 1 in 3 young men view him favorably, which is unfathomable in this country. After the election, Nick Fuentes, who says that women are very simple and don't deserve the right to vote. This is a young man on social media propagating these beliefs that predate our parents, right? That women don't deserve the vote, and he posted, "Your body, my choice."
I think what it comes down to is that men realize that women have a certain strength that they don't have. And they have subjugated that strength, in the boardroom, in the households, in the workplace, and even in religion, in orthodoxy and in many, many, many religions, including our own. So I think that there's a fear, there's an insecurity that men have that they recognize the strength that women have, and they do whatever they can on a mechanical level to reduce, to minimize that strength, so they don't feel as insecure as they would feel.
So I get that. And what I guess as a woman I would ask you is, so why are men so afraid of us? So what if we have strength? So what if we're strong? Like, you're afraid of women? Give me a break.
Yeah. Well, I think that women have developed themselves, generally, have developed themselves emotionally, spiritually, even intellectually, stronger than men. And so, a man sees that and compares himself to that. And so rather than feel insecure, just subordinate, they will minimize how a woman is in this world.
So I'm not saying this to you personally. I'm speaking as I think many women feel give me a break. You're stepping on my rights, my freedoms, your daughter's freedoms, your sister's freedoms. And are you that insecure that you have to take away my rights, that you have to put me back, decades so that you can feel safe or like a man? Like, that's the antithesis of being a man.
Well, we can go as far back as the Old Testament, and I'm sure even further than that really creates the foundation of subjugation. And again, orthodoxy in almost every religion that I could think of subjugates women in their orthodox form.
Why? Like, for what reason?
Well,
I get it. Yeah. I know that you said that, but as a woman, men stand so much more to gain by bringing us into the conversation and not letting their insecurity minimize the gifts that women have to offer.
Well, men get in their own ways because men are attracted to women, of course, for many reasons, but a man looks to a woman to be a teacher, and it's something that they don't have inherently in themselves that a woman does. So a man looks for a woman to that, and often when a woman gets into a relationship, she gives up that power that she has. Unfortunately, she may feel that she needs to be able to fit into a relationship.
Or to compete with other women.
Yeah. And so the woman is disappointed in herself because she's given up her power. And a man is disappointed because the woman that he first met and had started a relationship with is different now. But it's fitting into societal norms that are tainted, that are toxic, where a woman will give up her power to feel that she needs to fit in.
Or to get a guy, because especially in the past, having a man was survival.
Yeah.
What did a woman do if she didn't have a man?
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the other reasons why so much misogyny is surfacing, is that when women don't need men, the men who are not the most desirable men, they can completely just disappear. Mm-hmm. And so there's a lot of angry men who don't get female attention, and they become misogynists. And those are a lot of the followers of Andrew Tate and Nick Fuentes and all these, these right-wing influencers. They're following these people because they feel ignored by women because we don't need them, or right now we don't.
And the bottom line is insecurity. If a secure man would promote a woman's strength, they would protect a woman's vulnerability and openness and respect her boundaries. And all of that would come from a secure man. So when we talk about the followers of Andrew Tate, and we're really talking about a group of terribly insecure men who are really promoting each other's insecurity.
Well, they're angry. They're angry at women, and they're, what for us is disappointment in men, in them is anger in women.
Yeah, but you have to see where the anger is coming from. And the anger isn't just that I hate women, or I don't like women, or women irritate me or piss me off. It comes from I can't establish a relationship, an equal relationship. I'm not capable of it. So I have to, really put women in their place.
Mm-hmm. And I think I felt some of that towards men. I think I felt angry at men because I thought, what about me? You know, just because I don't look like all those other women, I have a lot of value. I have so much to offer, and I felt ignored by men. I felt invisible, you know, and at least invisible to the quality men that I really thought I should be with, the kinds of men I was looking for, men like you. And so I think a part of me was so hurt that I was angry at men. And I blamed them, just like I think men blame us.
Sure, I think there's a lot of anger on both sides. And I think the anger grows with time.
Yeah, so, you know, I can't imagine being a woman having to date today with what's going on out there. I think that it's got to be disheartening if women are really being honest with themselves. And, you know, I think there's a lot of putting people's heads in the sand right now and not wanting to see certain things. But I think that if a woman is really present to what's happening, this is horrifying.
Well, I think that on a date, a good man first has to get over the hurdle of proving himself that he's not misogynistic, that he's essentially a good guy. And on a woman's part, she can realize that being emotionally open, vulnerable, and nurturing doesn't have to mean being naive or defenseless. That you know, a woman could be strong and soft, and also vulnerable and with boundaries. So a woman on a date doesn't really know, you know, I mean, on a first date, even if you've had a video call, you really haven't seen that other person, how they are in the world, you know. And so it's another reason why in your course, you encourage women to go really slowly and, you know, be aware of red flags. And, but sometimes a red flag something can appear to be a red flag because, you know, there are two people on a first date and they're both nervous. And so a guy may say something that's really out of his normal, you know, persona. But, you know, a woman should register it, file it away, but not, you know, make a final judgment.
I guess, you know, I can see that these things can help, but how do you even trust men?
Well,
I think right now, you know, with everything that's going on, and I do have to say, like, I would agree, much of what's going on right now is due, and I'm not trying to be attacking, but it's due to white men. It is due to...
Well, the country has been based on white male supremacy. That you know, it was in our Constitution. So, you know, it's ingrained in society. But how a woman could trust men is first to take things slowly and not project and not jump into things without really knowing someone, particularly not having physical intimacy.
Well, and being very clear on what she wants in a partner.
Yeah.
And what to look for, right?
Yeah.
You know, like knowing what's going on right now, a woman's antenna should be tuned to this, going on his social media, checking if he's, you know, following any of these groups.
Yeah, he has a lot of photographs with his arm around different women. But I think going back to your question of how a woman could trust a man is that, you know, with time, seeing if their actions match their words, because it's really easy for a man to be like a love bomber and say all the right things, you know, and say, you know, I'm a female liberationist, you know, I believe in feminine power and all that. But it could be love bombing. So essentially, see how the man is in the world, see if his actions match his words. And it takes time. It takes time. It takes going slowly and being vulnerable and having boundaries, but with the vulnerability and openness and even nurturing to see how it's reflected back, how it's received and how it's reflected back. So it's not just one way.
But babe, what do you do if you don't even believe that there are good men out there? I think there are so many women that are looking around just saying, before you're even on a date or doing the things you're saying, I mean, I think that there's a real belief right now, and probably, just think about it, it would have to grow out of reaction to what's happening, that there are women who just don't even believe good men like you exist.
I think that finding role models, male role models for women, a politician or a political commentator that they respect, even someone on a television program who's a hero. Every Marvel movie is about a man being a hero to a woman, and really putting himself at risk for her. And so both men and women crave these movies because this is how they want to be. A man wants to be a hero to a woman wants to be protected. On our wedding, my 3 vows to you was that first I would cherish you beyond all expectation, beyond your imagination, and that I would protect you, physically, psychically, financially, every way I could, I protect you. And the third, that I would be a guardian of your soul, meaning that I would not only protect you physically, financially, spiritually, and beyond, but that I would see your soul's journey and protect that, even if it was divergent of my own path.
But honey, how many men like you are out there now?
Well, I think,
mean, especially younger men.
Well,
and by the way, I love all those things.
Yeah. I think that it's in our nature to see the negative side, to think that the world is falling apart, that men's values are disintegrating. And I think it's in our nature, our survival nature, to see the negative things, to protect ourselves. But it can sometimes obfuscate that there are so many good men and so many good young men out there. If 1 out of 3 men approve of Andrew Tate, I would say that probably 1 out of 1,000 young men even know who Andrew Tate is. So I think that
those numbers don't work, but anyway, Go ahead.
Well, I think that if you were to ask 1,000 young men who Andrew Tate is, they would have no idea.
But you can't have 1 out of 3 and 1 out of 1,000.
Well, that's just it. I question the 1 out of 3.
Oh, okay.
That's exactly what I'm
Got
questioning.
it. Yeah.
Because I think it's really easy to hold on to the negative. But, I think with negativity, we become invisible to all the goodness, there are some fine young men out there. I mean, truly fine middle-aged men, fine elderly men who have learned to love, who may have lost a spouse, that people who have experienced life, and they themselves, are longing to be with a partner, to be vulnerable with, to be open with, to be nurturing with. And men of any age, they're out there. And I think that it's so easy to be cloaked in, there are no good men out there, they're all taken, there are no good heterosexual men out there.
All the good men are gay.
Yeah. So it's so easy. And after a while, we believe these myths because, there's some truth to all myths. There's truth to all stereotypes, and that's why they persist. But they do obscure all the goodness. And how many good, decent men are out there.
How do you feel when you, and I thank you, that was really beautiful. They are out there, I know they are. I'm just trying to speak for the women who, really say, no, they aren't, no, there aren't, I don't see them, this is all I see, I haven't seen any good examples, so I'm speaking for them. But what you said is really my belief, and I do think that great, open hearts and open minds and, beautiful souls find each other, of men and women.
Yeah, and I think men are also trainable because they may not have been in a relationship with a woman who has really asserted her femininity, her feminine power in a nurturing, open, vulnerable way. And we sometimes when we talk about female power, we think about anger or on a woman's part.
Yeah.
But true femininity is open, vulnerable, and nurturing. And when I think that men are trainable, I years ago I had a client when my practice was in Los Angeles. She was a stewardess, and in the first class section, and David Letterman was sitting in the first class, and David Letterman got up to go to the the kitchen area just to stretch, and she thought it'd be funny if she just grabbed his butt. And he turned to her and he said, "Do you know how that makes me feel?"
Wow.
And so a woman only has to hear that once. A man only has to hear that once. So if a woman is really true to her feelings, because men want to please women, truly, they trip over themselves.
Even the ones that you could say almost all men want to please women.
Yeah, and there's some that have given up, and those are the angry ones. But they may not have had good role models.
Right.
And, or they may have had bad role models. But a woman can mold a man in the best possible way. And just saying, wow, do you know how that makes me feel? Or it makes me feel so much like a woman when you treat me this way. And so both work. The positive is always better than the negative. But sometimes, just keeping those boundaries of saying, wow, do you know how that made me feel?
Do you know something funny? And this is a complete departure because I tend to veer off a little bit. But I'm listening to you and I'm thinking, I give you all those, like I do that for you all the time. And it's so from my heart. And it's not like, I think I wanted to share this book for women because I do that. And I do it out of love. Like it's so from my heart. And I never read a book about, and nobody ever told me to do that. Nobody. It comes from such deep love and respect and admiration for who you are as a man. I was in awe of you the moment I looked in your eyes on our first date. I was in awe of you. To think that 23 years later, you are my husband, I don't even know how that happened. To think that I held your attention, and your heart for all those years. I found a man I could love and respect and admire with every cell of my being. And I really want women to hear that men like you are out there. You're out there. And I believed so strongly that there were men like you out there. And I believed in my ability to find someone like you. And I found, I think women settle for men who they know can't give them what they want, and then they're constantly dissatisfied.
Yeah.
You know, and that cycle goes on. But committing to the belief that men like you exist, and you know, I think there will always be negative forces that push in one direction or another, but it's having the belief, you know, and you having the belief that there were good women out there.
Yeah. And you reflecting my masculinity to me, the more masculine I feel, the more feminine you can feel.
It works that way, and I don't even do it for that. Like,
No,
I so do it because I'm so, you know, I have never stopped being in awe of you.
Yeah, thank you.
And awed by you.
Thank you.
Constantly, you know. So I think, you know, at the highest level, you know, there's all the noise, I guess where I was going with all of this, is there's all the noise down here, and it's so easy. It's sad to see it. Like, you can't look away from it and not acknowledge that, you know, the Nick Fuentes, the misogynists, that there is this darkness.
Well, the reason why we hear about them, the Nick Fuentes and the Andrew Tates and certain politicians, is that it's news because they're aberrations. You know, we think that, oh, you know, it's just part of the culture. But the reason we hear of these few names is that they're aberrations, and it gets our attention. If the world were like that, we wouldn't give them a second thought. But
Wow.
They stand out because they're aberrations to how people normally are.
But they are speaking to something real.
They are.
Like that, you know, there's something also very real, that there are so many men that are angry and that are, you know, so it is speaking to something that, you know, and given these people haven't been given permission to voice their anger, you know. But that being said, and I think the positive note that we really want to end on is where you've been guiding the conversation, that there are wonderful men out there.
Yeah.
There have been, there always will be, and no matter what's going on, these amazing men, you know, it takes amazing women to recognize them.
Well, you know, just think about it. You know, a man works hard in the office, even if he's not totally emotionally vulnerable. Ideal he is, but he works hard to support, you know, what's at home. The woman may have a job as well, but he will do it. He'll fight wars knowing that he's protecting the women at home. Men want to be heroes. And there are men where misogynistic tendencies, where hatred and anger, which is usually in themselves that they can't handle, so they direct it outward. But there are some men that no matter what, they're not going to change because they just feel they've become so insulated, or they were never not insulated or uninsulated. They're just, there are, you know, if a woman thinks she's going to change a man fundamentally, she's wrong. But there are good men that could use some guidance, and there's a difference. And, you know, to really take things slowly, see any red flags, you know, even how on a first date, how, you know, if it's a coffee date, how the man treats the barista, how he would treat the waitstaff at a restaurant, you know, how he drives, you know, all these things, you know, does it look like he's looking out for a woman's welfare? And no man is going to be perfect, but a good man will listen and say, wow, you know, And you've made suggestions. I've always tried to listen, because sometimes we're not mind readers, or we don't even see our own behavior is invisible to us.
Suggestions like, can you nuke the potatoes before you put them in the stew?
Right.
No. Well, I think what you're saying is that there are wonderful men out there and that you have to slow down. And no matter what's going on around us, there will always be the darker forces of nature and people who don't, who listen to their lesser angels, who are not, but there are also people who rise above, wonderful men, caring men.
And on a date, it doesn't mean being walled off and protective and defensive. It means still titrating out, metering out openness and vulnerability, and see how it's received and reflected back. But having boundaries and knowing that a woman could be strong and soft, and she could be vulnerable and have boundaries. And that's how a woman can show up on a date. Mm-hmm. And then see the person sitting, not everyone's going to be a match. And, this is a person you're going to be waking up with for the rest of your life, who you're going to be going through the good times and the crises. And you really want to take things slowly to make sure that this person, if he's not perfect, if he listens to suggestions, guidance.
Beautiful. Thank you, honey. That was beautiful.
My pleasure.
Yeah. So, times are changing, and there are things that are happening right now that may be deeply disturbing and may reinforce, fears that you have about men and all. But what Benjamin is saying is that no matter what, there are good men out there, and good women can, who will take the time to get to know them and be vulnerable, but show up, with strong boundaries, and listen to the men patiently so that they can see where their hearts lie and who they really are. And if you're willing to do what he's saying, you will find some incredibly wonderful men who care deeply about women. Even no matter what's going on in the world, those men are out there. And don't lose hope, because losing hope leads to giving up. It means to lose, when you lose faith, you give up. And you don't just give up on men, you give up on love. And of all the things in this life, this is it. This is it. Having your lover and your playmate and your best friend to go through life with.
2 dogs.
And Jackson Oliver. I don't know if you can't see them back there, but they are back there with us. So we send you so much love. I have a free webinar coming up December 9th, and it is at 5 p.m. Pacific time, which is 8 p.m. Eastern time. Thank you. And we would love to see you there. It's about the 5 feminine secrets that attract high caliber men, or quality men, however you choose to say it. And we would love to see you. So you will see the link either below the video or somewhere in my bio. Please look for it. You can also message us or say something in the chat. If you can't find it, we will DM you. And come back and see us again. We so appreciate all of you. We really do. I'm Lisa Shield.
And I'm Benjamin Shield.
And this has been Getting Inside the Right Male Mind. Bye-bye.